First of all, I just want to say thank God. Without that, none of us would be here. Just thanks for my Savior, Jesus Christ. But it was a great conversation. I honestly couldn't hear him much. I was too excited to listen. So.
Caleb Downs has just become the highest drafted safety in the 2026 NFL draft class. He was picked 11th overall by the Dallas Cowboys. He is now set to earn millions in guaranteed money, but just 4 years ago, nobody could figure out which sport this kid from a small town in Georgia would even choose. The competition was everywhere, but so was the doubt about whether he would ever pick just one thing. To figure out how a multi-sport athlete became the most coveted safety prospect in America, we have to go back to Hoschton, Georgia, when Caleb Downs was not yet the player he would become. Hoschton sits in northeast Georgia, part of Jackson County. It is a small town with rich history but limited big-time college recruiting prospects. Most kids from there dream of making it big. Few actually do. But the Downs household was different from day one. Gary Downs, Caleb's father, played 7 years in the NFL as a running back for the Giants, the Falcons, and the Broncos. His uncle, Dre Bly, was a two-time Pro Bowl cornerback who won a Super Bowl with the Rams and finished with 43 interceptions in his 11-year career. Josh Downs, his older brother, was already carving out a name as one of the best receivers in North Carolina history. And then there is the matriarch Tanya Shorter Downs, who played soccer through high school and now teaches high school calculus. But the foundation of it all was the patriarch. Gary Downs Sr., his grandfather, was a 23-year Army veteran, a jumpmaster paratrooper who spent decades training soldiers for airborne operations. Caleb would say about his grandfather's impact, "I would just say through my dad, the way he led his family. He raised his son to lead my family the way he did. I feel like the way you lead your family in terms of how you operate as a father that has been passed down to his son, my dad, and hopefully someday it will be passed down to myself and my family." But young Caleb was not the obvious football star. At Mill Creek High School, he was a three-sport athlete playing football, basketball, and baseball. Baseball coaches wanted him full-time. Basketball coaches saw his court vision and begged him to focus on hoops. Football coaches knew they had something special, but were not sure he would stick around. And here's the thing that made Caleb different from every other five-star recruit. He was obsessive about perfection in everything he touched. There is a story his parents tell about when Caleb was in 4th or 5th grade. He came home from school one day after seeing classmates solve Rubik's Cubes. Those kids got praised and revered for their unique talent. It was something that made them elite. So Caleb went into a 2-week binge of internet videos and marathon practice sessions until he could conquer the cube in 60 seconds. His mom, Tanya, would say it was crazy. And then once that task was perfected, Caleb put down the Rubik's Cube and shifted to his next fixation. That next fixation became football. But even then, the limitation was obvious. He was just a small town kid competing against elite talent statewide. Caleb would later say, "I feel like everything my grandfather instilled in us, consistency, discipline, hard work, and everything like that, that is why we are here today." The military discipline was about to be tested. Then came the conversation that changed everything. Caleb had gone down what he calls the Mamba mentality rabbit hole, studying Kobe Bryant obsessively. Inspired by Kobe's relentless pursuit of greatness, father and son, Gary devised a plan around these words: put before your eyes that which you want to be. If Caleb wanted to embody the top safety in the country, he needed to become obsessed with studying every aspect of the position. The transformation was immediate. As a true freshman on varsity, he led Mill Creek with 5 interceptions. As a sophomore, he earned Max Prep sophomore All-American honors, rushing for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns while catching 2 passes for 61 yards and a touchdown on offense, plus making 57 tackles with 4 interceptions on defense. But it was his junior year when the obsession truly paid off. He filled up the stat sheet in every possible way. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, 2 interception returns for touchdowns, 1 kickoff return for a touchdown, and threw 1 touchdown pass. On defense, he had 77 tackles, 11 pass breakups, and 5 interceptions as the team finished 11-2. But then came the ultimate test. By his senior year at Mill Creek, he recorded 66 tackles, 5 interceptions, 1 sack, and 1 fumble recovery while adding 334 rushing yards and 370 passing yards on offense. The real validation came in the rankings. He was a unanimous 5-star recruit, the #1 safety in the 2023 recruiting class, and the #1 player in Georgia across all recruiting services. The recruitment was was intense. He spent the summer visiting Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. North Carolina was also high on his list because his brother Josh was starring there. But there was something about Nick Saban that felt different. On July 27, 2022, Downs committed to Alabama, choosing the Crimson Tide over Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. The Rubik's Cube kid had solved his first major puzzle, but the biggest ones were still coming. August 2023, in his debut game against Middle Tennessee, 18-year-old Caleb Downs lined up as Alabama's starting safety and led the entire team with 8 tackles in his first collegiate snap. Nick Saban, who had seen thousands of players come through Tuscaloosa, knew immediately he had something special. What followed was historic. Downs became the first Alabama freshman to lead his team in tackles in program history, dating back to at least 1970, racking up 107 stops, along with 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. He had 13 tackle performances against both Mississippi State and Louisiana State. Against Chattanooga, he earned Defensive and Special Teams Player of the Week recognition, recording 7 tackles and a pass breakup on defense while returning 2 punts for 90 combined yards and a touchdown, including an 85-yard score. By season's end, the accolades poured in. The Southeastern Conference coaches named him Southeastern Conference Freshman of the Year. Pro Football Focus gave him first-team All-American honors. The Associated Press and the Sporting News named him second-team All-America. He ranked 4th in the Southeastern Conference in total tackles. For a true freshman at Alabama under Nick Saban, Caleb Downs had cracked the code. He was the future of Alabama defense, the next Ed Reed, the next Minkah Fitzpatrick. His sophomore year was going to be legendary. But then January 10th, 2024 changed everything. Caleb said about walking into that team meeting and hearing Nick Saban announce his retirement, that came at a huge shock to me. I did not see it coming at all, and even when he said it, I was still like, did this really just happen? Because that was one of the main reasons I went there to Alabama, and it was a really difficult time for me. Downs took time to consider his options. He met with incoming coach Kalen DeBoer. He talked with his family. He prayed about it. He would admit later, I did not really want to leave. But with Saban gone, the foundation of his college choice had crumbled. 7 days later, he entered the transfer portal, and that is when chaos erupted. Caleb would say, I got 102 calls in 7 to 8 hours. It was like recruiting on steroids. Just being able to minimize what my mind was going through was a big thing for me. Every major program in America wanted the Southeastern Conference Freshman of the Year. Georgia was calling. Notre Dame was calling. Alabama boosters were calling, begging him to stay. Downs continued. I would probably say I answered about 80 of the phone calls that I got. You have to control your circle in terms of getting your opinions from people that you trust and people that you know you can count on. That was the biggest thing for me during the process. But one voice cut through the noise. Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, head coach Ryan Day, and secondary coach Tim Walton made an in-home visit. Caleb said about Day, he was the same person that he was when he recruited me in high school. And he was very genuine when I was getting recruited in high school, and he was very genuine when I talked to him. The decision came down to Ohio State and Georgia. Downs would say about choosing Columbus, I just love the program here. I love Coach Walton. Coach Walton is a very genuine person. He always keeps you straight. Everything that he says has come to fruition. He is very close to my pops too. They grew up together. The 3-sport kid from Georgia was about to trade one powerhouse for another, but this time, he was not the unknown freshman. He was the crown jewel transfer everyone expected to deliver immediately. At Ohio State, Downs did not just meet expectations, he shattered them. In Ohio State's 38-15 win over number 5 Indiana, he returned a punt 79 yards for a touchdown. He helped lead the Buckeyes to the 2024 College Football Playoff National Championship. In his final season, he was named unanimous All-American Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and won both the prestigious Lott Trophy and Jim Thorpe Award as the nation's top defensive back. Across his final 2 seasons at Ohio State, he logged 149 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 1 pass breakup, and 2 forced fumbles. By January 2026, draft analysts were calling him the best defensive player in the entire class. His uncle Dre Bly would say simply, he is the best player in the draft. When you play as well as he played, you do not need to work out. His film represents what he is. The former Pro Bowl cornerback continued, He surpassed everything that I have done, and I am in the College Football Hall of Fame. He won the Thorpe Award. I went 0 for 2 with the Thorpe. He won the national championship. He won a state championship in high school. So this guy has always won. But there was pressure building. His father, Gary, was a third-round pick. His brother, Josh, went in the third round. Josh would say, Caleb was the best football player in our family for sure. He still is. Everyone expected Caleb to be the first Downs family member drafted in the first round. Caleb said about his brother's advice for the pre-draft process, the biggest thing he told me was find your routine, find your habits. Those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference. Mock drafts had him going anywhere from 5th overall to the late teens. Some teams loved his versatility. Others worried about his size. The pressure was mounting as April approached. April 23, 2026, Pittsburgh. The stage was set at Acrisure Stadium and Caleb Downs was sitting in the green room with his family watching his life change in real time. The first few picks went as expected. Tennessee took Carnell Tate 4th overall. Then the Giants took Arvell Reese at 5. Chiefs grabbed Mansour Delane at 6. Commanders selected Sonny Styles. With each pick, Downs felt his phone buzz with text messages from friends and family. But the call he was waiting for, the call that would change everything, had not come yet. Meanwhile, in the Dallas Cowboys war room, owner Jerry Jones was getting nervous. They were sitting at pick 12 watching elite defenders fly off the board. Jones would later explain, he was a prize for us sitting there. We had every reason to think that somebody might move up and get him. With minutes left on the clock before their pick, Dallas made their move. They called Miami. The Cowboys traded picks 12, 177, and 180 to the Dolphins for the 11th overall selection. Jones said about teams jumping ahead of them, we have had it done. I have had it done. I was just thinking of the times that we have been the next pick and had somebody move up and get him. I did not want to lose him. Then Caleb's phone rang. When NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell stepped to the podium and announced with the 11th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. The emotion hit immediately. Jerry Jones was on the other end of the line, but Caleb would later say, I honestly could not hear him much. I was too excited to listen. In that green room, brother Josh Downs, now a star receiver with the Indianapolis Colts, could not contain his emotions watching his little brother's dream come true. Josh said through tears, could have been the 5th pick, could have been the 1st pick. Caleb is the best player in the draft. The kid, who could not choose between 3 sports, had just become the highest drafted safety of his class. Nick Saban, watching from the ESPN studio, had this to say, this is as fine a young man as you are ever going to find to be a part of your team. He is a great competitor. He has got great character. He is so instinctive as a player. The Rubik's Cube obsession had led to the ultimate puzzle solved. When reporters asked Caleb about the moment after being drafted, the first words out of his mouth cut through all the noise. He said, I just thank my Savior, Jesus Christ. But now comes the real test. The Cowboys have not had a first-round safety since Roy Williams in 2002. They are expecting Caleb to be the anchor of their secondary for the next decade. With the Cowboys selecting Caleb Downs 11th overall, they have their first defensive player taken in the first round since 2005 when they selected DeMarcus Ware and Marcus Spears. The pressure is immense. Dallas defense was ranked worst in the NFL last season. Fans are desperate for a playmaker. And now a 21-year-old kid from small-town Georgia is expected to be the solution. Caleb had said about his success, my family is probably the biggest contributor to that. My dad was a coach, played my brother, played my uncle, played my other uncle, was a coach. Just being around the game has allowed me to grow a lot with my knowledge of football and how I see the game. Downs reflected about the Army veteran who set the foundation for an entire family of champions. I feel like everything my grandfather instilled in us, consistency, discipline, hard work, and everything like that, that is why we are here today. The 3-sport kid became the highest drafted safety of his class. But that was just the beginning. Now he has to prove he belongs in the NFL. The biggest puzzle of his life is just getting started. From Rubik's Cubes in 4th grade to first-round picks in the NFL, Caleb Downs has shown that obsession with perfection combined with family foundation and unshakable faith can solve anything. Even the challenge that is coming next, being great in the National Football League. If you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe.